You all know that a year ago the NDC lost elections to the MPP, to presidential elections to the MPP, and led by Nana Akufo-Addo, the then flag bearer of MPP, the largest opposition party then, and if you want, the minority at that time. I've added that because it's the minority that forms government, and I'm part of the minority. This was against the backdrop of the fact that John Dramani Mahama was fighting for his second term, while the NDC, as a government, was hoping for a term of office beyond the cyclical 8-year tenure for any government in this country under the Fourth Republic. The situation was not helped in the least by reason of the fact that the NPP has successfully tapped the John Dramani Mahama administration as incompetent, and thereby provided a fertile ground to catch the imagination of the Ghanaian voter by promising many mouth-watering things: one village, one dam, one district, one factory, $1 million per constituency, restoration of allowances for trainee nurses and trainee teachers, implementation of the almighty free senior high school education, and many more. The current Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, fielded 170 questions for the NDC, unbeknownst to us. The former Vice President, Kwesi Inusah Atta, was keeping count and has recently invited him to answer the same questions. My dear brothers and sisters, the invitation to the minority and my presence here this morning is to present the minority's view on the performance of the NPP administration during their first year in office, particularly to assess them on how good or bad they have performed since assuming the reins of government, and especially in the field of political governance, and to some extent, local government issues. Local government issues have been dealt with by Dr. Osai, and I will not belabor the point again. The format, I understand, is to look at the situation or issue as existed before 2016 general elections. Recall the MPP's promise of how they intended to deal with the matter, given the mandate, or what the general expectation of Ghanaians are on how the government ought to have handled the matter, which did not make it to the promised list. What the government has achieved so far: identify gaps in the implementation of policies and programs, and there are many, largely manifested by government is not aware, and what needs to be done. According to Imani, in their 2016 Imani pre-election report, critical analysis of key campaign promises published on the 23rd day of August 2016, MPP made a total of 8 promises under governance. But listening to Dr. Kujo Santi, I think that there are more than 8. None of these 8 promises was quantifiable. None. Meaning they have no timelines for implementation to enable citizens track and monitor performance, even though we had been called upon by the President on the 7th day of January 2017 to be citizens and not spectators. Never mind that this statement was plagiarized from a speech delivered from an American president so many years ago. 5 of the promises were semi-quantifiable and 3 non-quantifiable. For example, the NPP had promised the establishment of a national database geared towards formalizing the economy. Laudable promise for the purpose of planning, but no timelines as to when to expect this to be done. They, however, provided that the national identification system will be the primary identifier, a platform for the implementation of this promise. Consequently, they made another mouth-watering promise to do a national identification scheme in their first year in office. We all know that apart from the one and only Ghana card that was issued in the first year, that is last year, under the NPP administration by the National Identification Authority to His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, no card has been issued by the National Identification Authority to any other person. Indeed, they are yet to start the process of registering or re-registering Ghanaians. Corruption was a huge campaign issue in 2016. Woyomi and payments made to him made it to the 2012 elections as a campaign issue and survived as a campaign issue in 2016. The bus banding saga by the Minister of Transport in 2015 or thereabouts made it to the League of Campaign Issues and Corruption. The alleged pronouncements by the then Minister of Transport, Madame Jifra Tivo, somewhere in the Volta region about jailing an MPP did not help matters. The perceived inability of the Attorney General, Minister for Justice, to go after appointees of the President in the government of which he or she is part led the MPP to promise the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Initially conceived as an independent prosecutor, the word independent has now been interpreted to mean functional, structural, and financial independence in view of Article 88(3) of the 1992 Constitution. Let me hasten, however, to add my congratulations to Mr. Martin Alamis Amidu for his nomination by the President for consideration of Parliament to occupy the office of Special Prosecutor. I'm in white today, and I feel very refreshed that the President appears to have been given some thought to the suggestion by civil society organizations that the integrity and reputation of the office holder must be taken into account. That was why civil society recommended that the selection of the office of the Special Prosecutor must be through open, competitive, and transparent processes. We can only hope that when given the nod, the Special Prosecutor will not only be looking to the past to fight corruption, but will concern himself with current issues of all allegations of corruption. I mean, in our tradition, we say that if your mother is accused of witchcraft, to have the legitimacy to deal with other witches, you must first of all deal with your mother. And so we hope that, I mean, allegations of corruption emerging in this government will be dealt with seriously by the Special Prosecutor to obtain the necessary legitimacy to be able to deal with past questions of corruption and corruption-related offenses. The Hydra-headed issue, and that has been said already by previous speakers, of how the MPP intends to rope in its supporters and foot soldiers masquerading as vigilante groups and threatening the security and stability of this nation remains a challenge and a matter of concern to all Ghanaians. At the last count, there were as many as 28 separate incidences of lawlessness perpetrated against state institutions and public officials, starting or ranging from an attack on the person of the Ashanti Region Security Liaison Officer, the destruction of public properties in the Ashanti region, the fleeing of the DCE for Sisala from arid youth of the area, the locking up of offices of the school feeding program in Tamale, the attack on police personnel in Karaga, the beating up of the assemblyman at Adeisu, the seizing of toll booths at Tema, and many more. These acts are simply acts of lawlessness. It is important to remind the President that when he was swearing in the Chief Justice, Her Lordship Sophia Akufo, he said that he intends to build a new civilization founded on the rule of law, respect for the civil liberties of individuals in this republic, and upholding of the fundamental freedoms of citizens of this country. Ghanaians expect that he deals decisively with this menace of vigilantism and show leadership where it matters most. Ghana appears to have entered the Guinness Book of Records when, in constituting his government, President Akufo-Addo appointed as many as 110 persons to ministerial and deputy ministerial positions. This certainly goes down in history as in the history of this country as the largest government ever formed. Never mind that there is no constitutional bar to the number of persons that can be appointed to ministerial positions. But the President has said, when he was flag bearer, that he will manage the resources of this country prudently. We in the minority do not think that appointing 110 ministers for a country of a population of about 25 million is a prudent way to manage our resources. But even more serious and subtle constitutional issue is the appointment itself. The president is enjoined by the 1992 Constitution to appoint a majority of his ministers from Parliament. That is Article 78(1) of the 1992 Constitution. The president also appoints regional ministers and deputy regional ministers with clearly defined responsibilities. That is under Article 256 of the Constitution. Article 79 provides that deputy ministers of state shall assist ministers in the performance of their functions. Therefore, deputy ministers of state, unlike deputy regional ministers, have no existence of their own. Article 2951 defines minister to mean a minister appointed under Article 78 or 295 of the Constitution. It is the position of the 1992 Constitution that deputy ministers of state appointed under Article 79 of the Constitution are not ministers for the purposes of reckoning whether the president have appointed a majority of his ministers from Parliament. Let me conclude by invoking the words of Dr. Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah when he said that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa. And to say that the establishment of the office of the special prosecutor and the performance of his work will greatly be enhanced if government initiates moves and actually gets Parliament to pass the Right to Information Bill. As it is now, we do not yet see a commitment by this government to initiating moves to pass the Right to Information Law as a necessary complement to our fight against corruption. On transition issues, we are waiting to hear how this government intends to settle former President John Dramani Mahama and what has become of the vehicles which the current government alleges former appointees of the SYNDC government stole from the fleet of government vehicles. We are yet to hear the outcome. My overall assessment is just to echo what Pa Kwesi and Mr. Atta said a few days ago. This government could have done better.